The World Economic Forum has convened for its annual session in the Swiss Alps resort town of Davos. Now, the gathering of Western leaders and influential financiers is expected to focus on the conflicts in Ukraine and Gaza, as well as climate change and the potential for yet another pandemic. Ukraine's President Zelensky was greeted by Switzerland's top diplomat when he landed in Zurich for the conference. And after that, he headed to the national parliament for a meeting with lawmakers. Kiev's leader is expected to lobby for more Western support after his military largely failed in its attempted counteroffensive last year. We're now joined live by American journalist and founder of InfoWars.com, Alex Jones. Alex, I'm really happy to have you join me right now. Just ahead of the forum, a Ukrainian delegation pushed for its own version of a peace plan at a meeting in Davos. But there appears to have been no tangible results. But why would that be? What could be the goal of that meeting?
Well, it really tells you who's running the show. The Davos Group is the mouthpiece of these mega corporations that are basically playing nation states off against each other and using international crises to consolidate power. The same people that cooked up COVID-19 and released it, that caused worldwide lockdowns and then rolled out the experimental shots. So Davos is now basically a meeting of the puppet masters and the Western oligarchs that control much of Europe, the United Kingdom, and the United States. And so instead of presenting a peace deal to Russia, of course, they're trying to present a peace deal at Davos. And I know when they bring the plan out, I'm predicting that it'll just be Russia should just completely leave Ukraine and let the ethnic cleansing in the east of Ukraine continue on, because that's the only peace deal that Zelensky and his controllers like George Soros have offered.
Now, do you expect any of Zelensky's counterparts in the EU to bring up the case of American journalist Gonzalo Lira, who was critical of the Ukrainian government and was jailed by Kiev for that and was recently found dead in a Ukrainian prison cell?
No, I don't. And we know he went to the State Department, asked them to help him get out. He said he'd be a dead man if they didn't. And then, of course, he reported that he was beaten and just absolutely physically attacked over and over again the last 10 months, and then allowed to die of double pneumonia. And so they don't want that, because they want to pretend like America is run by all these loving, wonderful, liberal people, but it's not. America isn't run by Americans. It's run by BlackRock. It's run by big central banks that basically use America, hijacked America, to project our power into the world and basically terrorize other nations into submission. So as an American patriot, my goal is to get control of our government back. And that's why I'm trying to support President Trump, who clearly had the election stolen from him 3 years ago, back into power, so we can bring the world back from the edge of thermonuclear war. So my main mission is being loyal to God, family, and country. And because I'm loyal to America and our republic, I don't want us to be in illegal wars with Russia or China or anybody else. But Gonzalo Lira was an amazing journalist, had a lot of courage, was very articulate, very well spoken, and really hit the nail on the head about Soros and the State Department 9 years ago, staging the coup in Kiev, and then all of the militarization by NATO in a covert proxy war or hybrid war against Russia to either test Russia and push up to Russia's border, or try to entice Russia to respond to the invasion. But now we know that NATO is shocked almost 2 years in that despite their $200 billion and all of the advisors and troops there, that despite a heavy loss, Russia has now decisively won the war. So I would hope, even the late Henry Kissinger hoped this, that we could now have a peace deal and demilitarize Ukraine and move forward into the future.
All right, everyone's looking forward to that future that is certainly beneficial to everyone. Now, you talked about Trump. We'll come to that soon. Now, the World Economic Forum is expected to focus not only on Ukraine, but also on the war in Gaza. Do you think the conference will be able to come up with any kind of solution to either of those conflicts decisively?
No, I don't think the Davos Group's going to come up with anything conclusively because the multinational military-industrial complex that makes hundreds of billions of dollars a year off of these illegal wars wants it to continue. And Benjamin Netanyahu has said he wants to take all of Gaza and the trillions of dollars of oil and gas that are there and in the ocean in his territorial waters. So I'm not anti-Israel, but I'm also pro-truth. And so we know there was an Israeli stand down October 7th. We know they allowed the attack to happen, and it's now being used as a pretext to not just punish Hezbollah, but to also go after the people of Gaza. And so that's why I want a real ceasefire and a real peace deal, but I don't expect that. I think Netanyahu is just buying time while they ethnically cleanse the Palestinians and push them into the sea. So I don't want to push the Jews into the sea. I don't want to push the Palestinians into the sea. I don't agree with Hamas's slogan, from the mountains to the sea, there'll be no more Israel. But I also don't agree with the Israeli statements that there'll be no more Palestinian state. The Arabs have been there as long as the Jews, and I do want to try to push for some type of two-state solution to finally bring peace to that war-torn region. And I know that's also been what a lot of other statesmen around the world have been supporting. So that's really my goal.
In fact, that is what everyone around the world is saying, a two-state solution to all of this so there can be, constant peace. Now, another issue on the agenda is a panel dedicated to the so-called disease X, a hypothetical pathogen that may cause new pandemic many times more deadly than COVID. What do you expect to come out of those talks?
Well, we know what disease X is. The governments from Russia to China to the U.S. to France, the Japanese, they all know what diseases are here. You have new mutations of diseases, but there's no disease X. There's a new mutation of an already existing disease. So disease X is a holding place or a catch-all for gain of function bioweapons where they genetically splice viruses and also mutate viruses with radiation and other techniques to make them more communicable and more deadly. And so we have the UN that wants a worldwide treaty to take control of nation states and borders and transportation and trade with their UN pandemic treaty, really trying to establish a corporate world government, the name of it, hyping up disease X and saying it's going to kill 50 million people and it's imminent. Well, how can they be developing a vaccine for a disease that doesn't exist yet? And we know in China, in the United States, in Ukraine, all over the world, Western governments have been caught producing weaponized biological weapons in these labs, not for defensive purposes, but for offensive purposes. Top scientists have reported it would take 1 billion years in perfect conditions for the COVID-19 to occur naturally. 5 different viruses from around the world spliced together. It's basically impossible. And so what we have is illegal gain of function going on around the world. In 2015, there was a big scandal when Obama was caught allowing gain of function at the University of Texas, Galveston, and the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. So they then moved it to Wuhan. So when they released it, they could then have plausible deniability about who'd made it.
Now, the Russian authorities have speculated that the focus on hypothetical disease X could actually be an attempt for luring further investment into the healthcare sector. What do you think about those claims? You talked about it. Can you elaborate more on that?
Well, look, whether you're Russian or whether you're Norwegian or whether you're French or whether you're Mexican, these bioweapon labs set up and expanded under George W. Bush more than 15 years ago are the real threat. So I oppose these bioweapon labs, not because I'm a Russian agent or not because I'm a South African agent, but because I'm an American that loves my family. And I know that the head of the Russian Ministry over Chemical and Biological Weapons came out a few months ago, did an excellent presentation showing that the West is preparing a new pathogen to release it. And that's just true. So when somebody's telling the truth, I will agree with them because I align myself with the truth. And if the Russians were openly developing gain-of-function biological weapons and building laboratories in Mexico, I would call for the U.S. to invade and stop those laboratories as Russia did in Ukraine, because I care about self-preservation and life. And so the reason the criminals that run my government and are literally waging war on the American people, they've dissolved our borders, they're shipping in fentanyl, they're destroying our families. I mean, they're at war with us. They're not Americans doing this, folks. We've been hijacked. They are literally building bioweapon labs in third-party countries so they have plausible deniability, and the whole world is in danger. So I agreed 3 months ago when the Russian defense minister over chemical and biological weapons came out and warned of this. I was already saying it before he did, because I was interviewing all the experts and all the insiders and watching the Davos group, the mouthpiece of BlackRock and the Bilderberg group and the New World Order. I mean, really, the real James Bond villains that's all based on, literally specters, what you should probably call it. They are salivating, saying they're going to use a virus for global domination and to bring down the nation states. So I had family die from the COVID they released, and I've had friends die from the shots. 17 million are dead, according to insurance company actuaries. And so I am literally being bombarded by this occupational force here in America. I'm peacefully trying to get Trump elected. I'm trying to get governors elected. I'm trying to get the crazy people from control of these hijackers that have hijacked this country. And so I want the world to know, not just Russians, that the American people are absolutely against this. You know, I would get attacked some. I was still mainly popular on the street, but I would get some attacks 3-4 years ago for supporting Trump. I go to the grocery store by myself. I go to the shopping mall. I go to church. I walk my dog down the street. All I get is love now from everybody. So I'm telling the world, the globalists are way weaker than you think, because I'm well known. The average person isn't well known, which is great. They have their privacy, but I am well known. And I'm telling you, I'm getting zero pushback, zero anger in America. All I get is, we appreciate you, keep what you're doing. So I want the world to know, the American people want peace. We do not want World War III. We do not want nuclear war. We want our country to be under our control. We want your country to be under your control. We have so many resources together. We want to go to space together. We want to work with each other. And like Trump went to North Korea to make a deal. And you know, everything else. We want progress. We want a future. But the military-industrial complex that President Eisenhower warned of, being the number one threat, does not want that. They want global domination. And the bigger problem is they're incompetent. They inherited all their power from their predecessors that were more competent. Lloyd Austin, the defense secretary, has been missing for 3-4 weeks. He lied about where he was. Reportedly, he may even be near death right now. I looked at the number 3 people, the second, third, and fourth in command. None of them are military. They're liberal political scientists. They're not engineers. They're not veterans. That is so dangerous when we have people in command of the U.S. military and then the Hollywood scum out there promoting, like Sean Penn a year ago said, nuclear war is survivable. We need nuclear war on the table. We need nuclear war. He is an incompetent scumbag. And it's the same thing that Lloyd Austin at least was in the military and at least was in combat. He is in some hospital being eaten alive by bacteria right now, reportedly close to death. And the 3 people under him have never put on a uniform. They've never been an engineer. They've never fired a missile. They've never pulled a trigger. They've never fought somebody in a ditch. They don't know what war looks like, and that's why they're so dangerous. So we are all in grave danger, and we have to win the information war against the globalists to stop nuclear war for all our children.
All right, now let's talk about Trump a little bit. Now, the World Economic Forum is happening just as the Republican primaries are beginning. Donald Trump has been a leader in pre-election polls. Could he be a topic of discussion at the conference in Davos? Let's hit it now.
Actually, Davos said, and their high priest, Yuval Noah Harari, I have the article right here. He said a victory by Trump will deal a death blow to the global order of the Anglo-American establishment. And again, for new viewers, Putin gets it right when he calls it the Anglo-American establishment. That's what they call themselves. It doesn't mean white people. It means the axis of the old British Empire with the United States Empire that is at war with basically humanity and our own people. And so they say the number one mission stopping Trump, the number two mission is censoring the American people, and the number three mission is hyping up Disease X to give them total power and control. So you have this literal James Bond villain, Klaus Schwab, up there lecturing everybody about this world government. But here's the good news. You go to X, formerly Twitter, or you go to Instagram, anywhere, there'll be a Bill Gates or Klaus Schwab video with 10 million views. There'll be 20,000 comments, and I've looked at them. There might be one positive comment about the WEF or Bill Gates or Klaus Schwab in 1,000, literally. So I'm telling you, there's a complete collapse in them. They have nothing, but that's the problem. They don't have the people's brains, but they have the nuclear weapons, and they are psychotic. And so, yes, they totally fear Trump. Trump's a strong president. He's pro-America, but he also wants to be friends. So if people deal with America straight, he wants giant business deals with the whole world. He wants fair exchange. He wants the middlemen, the oligarchs to be removed. And that's why they're coming after him. So with 10 months to the election, most important election, I think, in world history, it's such a dangerous time because, again, the Pentagon is run by the Democrats. And that's the big news. They say Trump's going to be a dictator if elected. So they're introducing legislation this week, Senator Blumenthal, to strip power from President Trump, who has the executive war power, to the Senate so that he can't stop riots by Black Lives Matter funded by George Soros if he's elected. So they're openly planning, if Trump does get elected, which he's about to have a landslide, 50% of the vote in Iowa against four other candidates. So no one's ever won Iowa with more than 12%. Okay, Ronald Reagan lost it. Trump is about to win, they think, with 55% of the vote, a giant landslide. So they know he's set to win in the general election. So will they assassinate him? Will they launch a war? Will they launch a cyber attack? Will they plunge the economy? That's really the question. But now they're saying we have to have a coup to take control of the military and the Congress, never done in U.S. history, totally illegal, because Trump might use the military on them. He's never called for that. He's never done that. He's never persecuted his political rivals. He's all about soft power. He's all about results and economics. He wants economics, not war. He does think war's stupid. He does think it's stupid to have a war for no reason. And they say, oh, he's anti-military because he doesn't like seeing troops' legs blown off. No, not unless he has to. And so Trump, it's all about prosperity, and they're in full panic mode. And so they're now saying, Washington Post, New York Times, Newsweek, Trump is going to be a dictator, so we have to remove the military power from him congressionally before he's elected so he won't stop riots. They're planning a civil war uprising if Trump gets elected. So these people aren't backing down. The good news is 7, 8 years ago, the average person didn't know this. I would tell Trump, hey, here's the Stay Behind network. Obama put these networks in. Here's their names. And then they came after me for it, but Trump didn't understand it. Now he knows what's going on. Now he understands who the people are. He'll be able to form a government that shuts this psychotic group down. And so we're hoping for a peaceful transition of power with the American people to reverse this. But the Democrats now believe he's going to win with such a landslide, and the deep state does, that they are literally saying they're going to take control of the military ahead of Trump getting in power. So this is a huge constitutional crisis.
All right. Now, Trump and the incumbent U.S. President Joe Biden have been accusing each other of being a dictator. Now, how does that rhetoric affect the image of American democracy within the country and even abroad?
Well, look, I've heard Putin say that it's good for Russia that they're persecuting Trump because it shows that the people running America don't have any place to lecture people. I don't care whether you're Russia or whether you're China or whether you're America. We should stand up against totalitarian aspects. And I know the numbers are real. I know Putin's very, very popular. He doesn't need to suppress things. But my point is, I have to disagree with Putin. And I've seen the shorter clip. He may have said more in context. I don't think an America persecuting a popular president they stole the election from and persecuting a president who's 20 points ahead of Joe Biden and who's about to get 55% of the vote against 4 other candidates in the primary. I mean, I get it's good in one aspect, one level, to say it shows that the people running America are bad. That statement's true by Putin. But if you look at second, third, fourth, fifth order, was it good when Nazi Germany was run by Adolf Hitler just because it discredited Germany? No. The whole world is in danger because of this. And those of us here in America are facing the fate of Gonzalo Lira. My own reporter just got out of prison where he was in solitary confinement for no reason. They're threatening me with jail. They've got groups trying. And all I'm saying is, if America goes down, look out. If Russia thinks they got a problem right now, if the deep state's able to take out Trump and take us out, nobody's safe. We have something worse than Hitler running our government right now because it's a bunch of bureaucrats and lawyers that pass the buck. They sit around in these councils and all try to act powerful to each other. Almost none of them have ever been in a fight. Almost none of them are military. And so they just think war is cute. And they sit around and I mean, look, Biden said a year ago, we can't send tanks and F-16s to Russia or to Ukraine because that's World War III. And then 6 months later starts doing it. They are violating their own common sense because they are incompetent. And so I'm telling everybody, don't fear the competence of America. You should fear the incompetence of the people that have hijacked it. We got plenty of competent people, but they don't want competent people in charge because they threaten their robbing and stealing and looting the treasury. So that's my message to everybody here is that we have a very dangerous establishment in control here in America.
All right, before I finally let you go, let me ask this question. What are your predictions or projection for this year, both in America and elsewhere in the world?
Well, I appreciate the time here with you today, and I just love humanity, and I hope we can all live together and not kill each other. My predictions are an unprecedented year of economic turmoil, of expanded wars, and I think political assassinations, and I think a real change. But I can't make a pure prediction about what's going to happen because it's really up to all of us, the outcome of what unfolds. We should be praying. We should be politically active. We should be informing others. And we should be calling for sanity and peace because, JFK and Khrushchev, knew to talk to each other during the Cuban Missile Crisis, so we didn't have a nuclear war. And unfortunately, we don't have people like that in charge anymore over here. And so that's why we need President Trump in there to pull us back from the precipice. So unprecedented year. And they're talking about a new pandemic. I hope they don't do it. I hope they don't release a new disease acts. But the globalists are desperate. They're cornered rats. And that makes them extremely dangerous. And so I think the rhetoric we've seen out of Russia is good. We want peace. We don't want war. De-escalate. Unfortunately, NATO and Sweden are calling for war and all this craziness. But again, the average American does not want war. Many of the Republicans don't want war. The Democrats are desperate because there's a political realignment. Everyone's leaving them. They're done. There probably won't be a Democrat. There either won't be a Democratic Party in 5 years or will be a dictatorship. They're done. Their only move now is to try to seize total power.
All right, we have to leave it here now. We can keep talking on and on and on. It's so interesting speaking with you, Alex Jones, American journalist and founder of InfoWars.com. Thank you so much for your time.